That would help if I added us here to the screen. Good evening.
Good evening.
Yeah, my name is Omari Salisbury, and I'm joined by producer Nikki Barron, and this is your Monday edition of the Coronavirus Update Show right here on Converge Media. I want to thank everybody for tuning in to get the latest information on coronavirus and how it's impacting our community, as well as resources that are available. What we got lined up today, Nikki?
Today we are speaking with Tim from Langston about resources for artists during the pandemic. They've done their own fundraisers, but they're also supporting and spreading the word about a lot of other grant programs and opportunities for artists, and they built a page on their site. So Tim's going to join us here in a bit after we do the numbers to talk about resources for artists, kind of spanning the spectrum from musicians to visual artists to really the entire spectrum of art. So I'm pretty excited to hear about this one personally. Both my roommates are artists. I'm an artist. My boyfriend's an artist. So it's definitely my world. So I'm excited to see what's out there for them.
The art's everywhere. Before we get it going today, let me zoom in here real quick. I got my Fauci hat. So producer Nikki, she ordered me a Fauci hat. On the back of the hat, it says "Wash your hands." Thank you for the gift, Nikki.
You're welcome. I had to get our guy. Everyone keeps asking me when I wear it if it's Bernie Sanders.
It's Dr. Fauci. It's Dr. Fauci. All right. So sounds like we got a full show. I'll let you get right into the numbers.
Yeah, let's talk about the numbers here. So they just updated this data at around 4 o'clock p.m. So this is data as of December 5th. As you guys know, it's always like rolling a couple of days late. And so our confirmed cases have risen to 177,447. Hospitalizations have risen to 11,544. We've lost a total of 2,925 deaths of Washingtonians, and our death percentage is at 1.6%. And then when we look at this, it's always important, one of the most important numbers that we have if we want to talk about getting back to normal, and that is our positivity rate. So this is they're pretty far behind on this data here. But as of the 25th of November, we had a 21.6% positivity rate with a 12.9% 7-day rolling average. And for context, that puts us at, our goal is to get 2%. And so to be up over 20% and even having that rolling average of 12% is pretty scary.
Wow. What are your thoughts? I know we talked a little earlier on the morning update show that we haven't seen anything yet, supposedly because of the lag behind people who traveled for Thanksgiving and when those numbers and those people start hitting the hospital.
Right, exactly. So we've got another chart here that is really important to take a look at, and that's our hospital readiness. So as you can see, the goal for hospital readiness is 80%, and as of the 3rd, we were at 81%. So at this percentage, that's when we start talking about not having enough beds for everybody, not having enough ventilators for everyone who needs it. And not having enough PPE for our frontline healthcare workers. We've already stopped elective surgeries, and to define elective surgery, it's not like a nose job. It's anything that's not life-threatening right now. So that can be cancer surgeries, it can be orthopedic surgeries, things like that really can harm and cause long-term effects to people, even if they are categorized as an elective surgery. So that's a number that's really scary for me personally, is that if I did get sick with COVID, there wouldn't be anyone available to help me. So it's pretty scary.
Man, these numbers just continue to rise, and
Yeah.
reporting on it twice a day. You know what I'm saying?
Mondays and Wednesdays are hard.
Mondays and Wednesdays are hard. All right. Well, the best thing is, I'm always looking for a silver lining in everything. In every crisis, there's an opportunity. And it sounds like with our guest right here, we're talking about opportunities that have opened themselves up for artists that are struggling right now during COVID-19. This is something that Converge we've been on kind of from day one, is how to be able to support artists, those directly impacted. There's so many people who had gigs, their whole lifestyle, their income was just cut immediately along when the governor brought the state to a standstill. So it's good to know that there's people out there working on behalf of artists.
Yeah, definitely. I think the thing that COVID did that has been the most impactful to me is it showed these systemic issues. It really put a magnifying glass on it. I was already really aware of the fact that artists were living on the edge. They were barely making it. It was already a really tough road for artists. And so with COVID, it took away for most artists the one place that they actually made any money. For example, the average musician can't even buy a cup of coffee with a year's worth of Spotify streams. The only way they were making money was through events. And so I think that that's one thing that COVID has done that's, I guess, it's a blessing and a curse. It's a blessing that we're finally talking about this issue that artists have been kind of banging on the doors and trying to sound the alarm on for years. But with COVID now, people are finally paying attention, and they're finally understanding how hard life is without art. So,
all right. Well, speaking of art and good things happening for artists at this time of need, let's go ahead and bring out Tim from Langston. Tim,
Hey,
how are you?
I'm
Welcome to the
doing
Coronavirus
well. Thank
Update
you.
Show.
Thank you so much for having me out here, Nikki and Omari. It's just a real pleasure. I've been watching y'all for a minute, and it's really good to be here, and especially to be talking about this topic. So thanks for having me on.
No problem. No problem. I know Nikki has a whole bunch of questions for you.
I do. Well, welcome. So why don't you tell our audience who you are and what you do at Langston and what Langston is, in case they're not familiar.
Absolutely. My name is Tim Lennon again, and I serve as the executive director of Langston. We are a programming, Black-focused arts and culture nonprofit housed in the Langston Hughes Performing Arts Institute in the heart of the Central District in Seattle. Our organization has been around about four years now, going on 5 years. We were created to build on the legacy of the 40 years prior to our arrival of amazing Black art and culture in that facility. This year, we took we all took a pretty wild ride, but we took a pretty sharp pivot to work on a thing called the Seattle Artist Relief Fund. Three amazing local Black artists, Ijoma Oluo, Ebony Arunga, and Gabriel Teodros, started this initially as a GoFundMe. The amount of, this is back in March, so this is before the stadium shut things down, the amount of demand and the amount of generosity, to your point, Nikki, earlier, community support for this effort has just been overwhelming. And so to date, we have raised and distributed $1,047,000 some odd dollars directly into the pockets of artists in need in our state. And that's above and beyond our regular work, paying Black artists to create Black art for audiences of all stripes. So really proud of the work that we've done. At the same time, it's been heartbreaking how little we've been able to raise, given the amount of need in this area for artists in our state. $1 million sounds like a lot until you read the emails that I've been getting and seeing how many folks are really struggling out there, and how little response we've gotten from both the public sector and private funders, although our effort has been funded in great part due to generous donations from those folks. But there's been no systems in place to support our artists for a very long time, and it really hit home this year.
I thought it was interesting how the city and King County and the state have just now started releasing funds and that prioritize artists and creative industries. And they were the hardest hit. I think there's this, they talk about this a lot with the venues, like the first to close and they'll be the last to open. Artists are the first to be hit by this pandemic financially, and they're going to be the last to recover from it. Yet here we are, not far from a year, and we're still relying on private funding, such as what you've been able to raise in order to take care of them in a city that you can't walk through the airport without having somebody like Alan Stone or, you know, somebody from Pearl Jam talking to you and kind of using art as a sales tool for getting people to come here, yet we're just now addressing their needs.
Yeah, that's real. I mean, I do want to make clear that, you know, while there haven't been any dedicated programs until rather late in the series of events, we did get a lot of support from the city of Seattle, from the Seattle Foundation, from some of the larger institutional funders who were caught as flat-footed as the rest of us in some senses and have much bigger ships to steer. So they were able to free up a lot of funds when we really needed it to get to our artists. But in terms of standing up full-on programs, that's been a long time coming. And you know, it's never too late. And in some senses, it's kind of good that they're starting to show up now, because to be honest with you, a lot of folks are, you know, the donations aren't coming in the way they used to come in. A lot of funders are shifting towards recovery, trying to figure out how to help rebuild the economy, whereas the folks that we've been serving lost all of their work back in March, and they're still in crisis mode. And so I think we need to find a way to balance those out. The one thing I will say about this project, and one thing that really opened my eyes, was how ready everybody has been to show up for artists. You know, and that could be $5 or it could be $100,000. People are ready to do it if we point them in the right direction. And so for those of y'all who are still in a position to give, we're heading into winter. It's a bleak time for a lot of folks, and not just for the fund that we're working on, but also just so many other efforts that are going on. And just giving money to folks directly is always much appreciated.
So if somebody wants to support artists, you recommend giving directly to this fund, and I'll put the link here for people to be able to support.
Well, I'll stop you there. With the Seattle Artist Relief Fund, we were so slammed with applications, and it took us so long just to meet the demand of the folks who applied that we actually had to close new applications in September, and we're still fundraising to reach the folks that are on the waiting list. And so we still have, I would guess, about 120, 125 people on our waiting list, maybe $75,000, $80,000 left to go to get them just a little something by the end of this year. So definitely please do put out that link, and if folks can give to our fund, do so. But really my plea is to reach out to the artists in your lives, the people who've made a difference in your life, the folks who you've enjoyed seeing over the years. Check in, and, you know, if they have a Cash App, if they have a Venmo, hit them up, because it's really hard times out there. As you mentioned, you know, the venues were the first to close. They closed a couple weeks after they canceled all the shows for all these other folks. So, you know, individual artists lost their whole year's worth of income back in March. And there's no real end in sight, although I'm optimistic now that we have some vaccines in the works that we'll be able to congregate again. But yeah, it's hard times out there. So giving directly to individual artists is really also very important.
Great. And you sent me a link to, it's artisttrust.org/COVID-19-response. And here you have a ton of other resources. Can you tell me about a couple other on this list that you think are exceptional?
Yeah, I'd love to shout out also For Culture, which is the agency, the public agency that serves all the King County area. Their website, and I'll try to shoot you a link over here, but they have a really comprehensive website that's got links to all of the other resources, including the Artist Trust list that also has some great stuff. So I wanted to shout that out. And then there's two deadlines that are coming up really soon that I wanted to plug. Earshot Jazz, which has just been a rock in the jazz community for decades. They're doing an emergency relief program right now for jazz artists in the Seattle area. So if y'all are tuned in or know any jazz musicians that could use a hand, they've got a really good relief fund. It's lottery based. They weigh it based on need, but there's just so much demand out there that it's hard to get everybody with each of these relief efforts, but they're doing a really good job with the application process. It's very simple. If you're a jazz musician in the area, you should definitely look out for that. The deadline for that is December 15th. So get on that one. And then Washington State Department of Commerce, their Working Washington Small Business Grants are out right now. A lot of us in the cultural sector don't think of us as business people, but if you work for a nonprofit, if you run a restaurant, if you obviously had a music venue or ran a bar, like those are all cultural institutions in our neighborhoods, and they're all small businesses, nonprofit, for-profit, barely making a profit. It's all small businesses, and there's grants up to $20,000 to support small businesses in this third round of the small business grants program. And I'll shoot that over your way as well if you could share that with folks. That deadline is December 11th, so coming up very, very soon. And again, like all these other relief efforts, the demand is so far outsized of the need that, I'm not sure what anyone's chances are. I don't work for any of these programs, but I encourage y'all to apply. It is also really important that folks see how many people are applying for these things so that they can run it up the chain and let elected leaders know, especially that the need is so far overwhelming these individual kind of piecemeal efforts that we really need to be pushing for systemic change, particularly come January when the state legislature comes back.
Great. I know Omari had a few follow-up questions for you.
Yeah.
Well, no, I mean, I just really wanted to acknowledge, I grew up in the CD. You already know, man. 20 Nights at Jackson's, CD or See Me. Grew up going to things there at Langston Hughes. And, man, I just really want to acknowledge that we see a lot of stuff we see in our community is, rallying around the basics. You know what I'm saying? Where somebody is just like, here's emergency food and things like that. And we see a lot of that. And I just think that it's dope that we don't have to look beyond our community. And like, clearly, you're not able to help everybody, but I mean, it's just inspiring to see people that look like us in the neighborhood and everything tackling an issue for artists where traditionally that's something that's been left for other communities to come in and rescue our artists for us, things like that. You know what I'm saying? When people might have a mindset that we're not capable of taking care of our own or pushing out for our own. So I want to let you know that I think that, man, it's really dope what you're doing, and we're going to use our platform to the best of our ability to amplify all the efforts that you're doing.
Omari, I really appreciate that. And that brings to mind another thing that I wanted to mention. We, as I said, we closed down we put everybody on a waiting list for the Seattle Artist Relief Fund. We're going to do our best to get some help out to those folks who've been waiting patiently for a couple of months now. We're not going to do another Seattle Artist Relief Fund. As far as I can tell, we became suddenly the biggest funder of individual artists in the state, which was dope, but it's been a lot of work. And what we learned in the process, because this fund was open to all artists, we prioritized Black, Indigenous, POC, disabled, trans, queer artists, but it was open to everybody. What we realized is even though it was a Black organization and it was Black artists that were doing this, and the need was felt the heaviest by Black artists in the community, even our effort wasn't able to reach enough Black folks and not with not enough money to those individual artists. So we're going to take everything that we learned this year, and we learned a lot, and build a new Black artist focused support program. So I don't know how long it's going to take us to figure out how to get that off the ground, but we are definitely going to be working on that diligently over the next couple of months. And hopefully you can have it back on here when we have our stuff figured out, and we can announce something really big. But it's really about taking care of our own. We've been here for everybody this year, but we really need to make sure that we're extra here for us.
Well, yeah. Well, you guys. I mean, this is like family. You always welcome over. It's like cousins or something. You always welcome over to your cousin's house.
Absolutely. I mean, Langston Hughes is like grandma's house. Everybody's home there. Everybody's home there. We had your brother as Santa a couple times. So,
that's what I'm saying, man. It's fam, and we're here to support. I see Nikki has put the links in there. We're also going to be able to share this across our social media. We'll put it in the podcast and everything else. Man, I just really want to reinforce that we're here to support everything that guys are doing. And also, like, if you hear something else that could be supportive, man, make sure and hit me or Nikki up so we can let people know, what's going on out there. We really want to be here for artists.
Will do. Will do. Last plug. It's the holidays coming up. Don't buy anything from any multinational corporations if you can. Hit up local artists. Give people some gifts this year if you're doing that. Gift certificates from local restaurants, local bars, any kind of work of art. Buy people some downloads. Hit up Bandcamp on Fridays for the best deal for the independent music artists. Just support local businesses any way you can. Buy your gifts local. Treat yourself local. There's nothing became clearer to me this year than the only people that are going to be here for us is us, and so we got to be here for one another.
It's like we say, we all we got sometimes. Tim Lennon, thank you so much for joining us on the.
Thank you all so much. Yeah, I appreciate it. All right.
Welcome back, man. What a nice guy, huh?
Yes, he was so much. He was way more like cordial, and I was kind of on my rant about using artists to market Seattle. He was like, "Well, I was like, oh, so kind."
Yeah, it's crazy because Seattle, we don't see like the long lines, like in Dallas, where they're like thousands of people were in line in cars today to be able to get food and get this and that. And so it's really, you can really, to be honest with you, go a whole day here and watch a whole news cycle and not really get a sense that there's a sense of need that's out there. I mean, I don't know if you get what I'm saying. Like in a lot of other cities, it's just glaring because of however the city is, the economics there and everything else. But you could really move around the city of Seattle and not really think that a lot of people are really suffering right now or in need.
Definitely. Yeah. A lot of people are in need. But we're really fortunate that private nonprofits and companies have really put their money where their mouth is, especially with, when it comes to artists. We always need more, of course, but I feel like Seattle has really come together and our economic situation is not as dire as other places. Definitely.
Man, all right. So next coronavirus update show is Wednesday at 6:15. What you got lined up for us?
So I will not be here for that one, but you will get to hang out with the super entertaining Bobby Stills.
Bobby Stills.
Always delivering. So you'll see Bobby in this seat. Well, not this exact seat because Bobby's not coming into my house, but
his studio's not as nice as yours either, by the way.
So he will be talking, you guys will be talking with Kevin Schofield about the link between positive outcomes between people who have coronavirus and whether or not they had been vaccinated for mumps and measles. Every time I say it, I like it's a tongue twister. So that is going to be our next show. We've also got the following Monday, we'll be talking about mental health and the pandemic with our friends at Neighbor Care. And yeah, we've gotten a few questions submitted that we're going to go try to get the answer for. So if you have an idea for an episode, something that you want us to go find, resources, data, science, an expert of any kind, please make sure you go to whereweconverge.com, go to the COVID resources page. At the very bottom, you'll see a form there. And that form comes directly to me with your ideas. So we want to answer your questions. So hit us up.
All right. There it is. Yeah, definitely go to the website. Share the website with your friends, loved ones. Nikki works really hard and diligently making sure that it's up to date. Information's there, everything else, as well as the podcast platform, the audio version. We want to continue to do our part for our community and the larger community as a whole, and getting information out there. So, all right. Well, I guess I would say enjoy your day off. You deserve to take a day away from this all this COVID stuff for at least one episode.
Yes, I am really looking forward to it. I don't look at the data on the weekends either. So.
Good for you.
But yeah, Mondays are a hard day. Mondays and Wednesdays when I do double duty of looking at these numbers, it's a hard day. But it's work that I'm really proud to do, and it's fulfilling. So even though it makes me really sad, if I can keep one person from contracting COVID because they've made a behavioral change, or they've been able to access a resource that makes this pandemic a little bit easier, then it's definitely worth it.
Indeed it is. All right, so until tomorrow, you guys can catch us again tomorrow at 11 a.m. on the Morning Update Show, and Nikki will be in at about 11:37-ish with the coronavirus update. But until tomorrow morning, we'll catch you later. Peace.